Hello, good morning and welcome from the mountains. I'm Imthishan, this is Motoring Middle East, and today I'll be taking a look at the 2017 Ford Raptor, the amazing pickup that introduced flight to the off-road world. But if you're looking for that kind of view where the Raptor soars through the air, lands hard, just behaves like an idiot, this isn't going to be that review. There are thousands of people who have done it better and who have the time to shoot a car flying through the air, and I suggest you go and find those reviews. Yes, it's been fun. Thank you for watching. For everybody else, this review is for people who actually want to buy one of these things. Who aren't interested in just seeing pretty pictures but want to know what the Raptor is really about and if the car can deliver on what it says, because this Raptor is really meant to be hugely improved and to appeal to all kinds of people, not just off-road nerds. So really, it's for you, the person who really wants to buy a Raptor, or for me, the person who's on the fence and thinking, maybe the Raptor is the car for me. For those people, I suggest you watch on. If the old Raptor was some sort of redneck cowboy with lots of cash, a Texas kid done really good, the new Raptor is a cyborg, a Terminator sent from the future to save us. I love the way it looks. It looks so high-tech, it looks so different, so aggressive. So this one has the package on the hood with the hood appliques, so quite nice, optional. But overall it's the same as before, as always, 6 inches wider, 3 inches on either side to accommodate the suspension, and it has the famous marker lights. These lights are there, so because this is a very wide vehicle. In the US you'd normally keep them on the top, but actually here you can just put them down here because Ford do whatever they want. And the front camera down here. By the way, this grille is not just for looks. It also has active shutters, so you can open and close to improve the aerodynamics and your fuel economy. It doesn't really work that well in practice, but the idea is good. I think it works better on the Rams, personally. The bumper's been restyled to actually offer a better approach angle, so it's a lot skinnier and narrower. Still metal though. You can hear it's still metal. And this is a nice place to put off-road lights and things. But don't put anything here, because this is where the intercooler goes. So it's actually why they moved the number plate here, so they don't block airflow to the engine, which is a turbo engine, bloody needs it. If you look underneath, you can see the steel bumper. Steel skip plate. Please don't bend that. This car's already had a prang or two, but it looks in pretty good shape. It's been repaired. If you look at the sides of it, these fenders are not steel. If you hear that, they are fiberglass composite. So they're a mixture of a couple of materials. So a lot of people don't know this, but these are actually not steel, because you can't get steel into these kinds of shapes, but you can get fiberglass composite. So quite cool. And quite hard to make. 35-inch tires, we'll come back to that in a second. Yes, the side step. Very handy because it hits the ground before the body does. This, as you can see, is the 1.5 door or super cab. There's also a full 4-door Super Crew. I think that's quite popular. But that's more lifestyle-y. I think this is the one for off-roading, because you want to remove as much distance as you can between the wheels so you have better breakover angle over dunes. When you get to the back, again, composite fender flares. One thing I really miss is the digital mud. Now it has these Raptor logos, and they're cool, but they're not as good as the digital mud. Going down to the back, this car looks good from just about every angle. And again, the bumper here has been restyled. This maybe has the best departure angle of any factory pickup I've ever seen. This one has the optional tow hook, and the nice cutoffs for the 2 exhausts. This is a 2017 car. From 2018, it'll actually say Ford in big letters here, but here it just says the big logo. This is a blind spot taillight. So it has radars and sensors and can see behind you. You shouldn't depend on this stuff, but I kind of have learned to depend on it, for better or worse. And don't have an accident, because this is going to be hideously expensive. This one has the optional bed liner, so quite nice. It's drop-in, not spray-in, but it's alright. It's got the bed extenders as well here, big Ford logo. You can, of course, put tonneau covers and all other accessories. Now here's something I want to show you, and new for the F-150s. Normally how you open these things when they come down bang hard? Well, with this one, check it out. Tailgate shocks, yo. Yeah, it's pretty damn swanky. Of course, you can put this in any other truck as well through the aftermarket, but hey, it comes from the factory. I just want to have another quick look at the side of the Raptor. What a great looking truck. What an incredible stance. I don't think there's anybody who's bettered it yet. not even the aftermarket. So one of the secrets of the Raptor's off-road ability is these BFG KO2 tires. I think it's the only truck in the world that comes standard with KO2, which is a very sort of heavy-duty off-road tire. Although it's not a mud terrain, it's an all-terrain, even though it looks like a mud terrain with these crazy ridges on the side. I have to confess, I am not a giant fan of the KO2. I've tried them on my Wrangler, I've tried them on my Ram, and I always found them a bit heavy, a bit noisy, a bit harsh. I know the idea is that KO2s last forever, but I'm not sure I want to keep them forever if they're that much of a pain in the backside. But Ford specifies them as standard, and these Raptor KO2s have a little bit of a secret because they're actually not quite the same formula as the regular KO2. The regular ones are, I'm sorry, this is very nerdy, are E-rated. These are C-rated, so they're a bit lighter, they got a slightly different construction, so they're a bit less aggressive, and they handle a bit better than the regular KO2. Certainly don't squeal as much as mine did. Having said that, it's still an off-road tire. How does it behave in the sand? Pretty good, no real issues. The thing about KO2s you have to remember is they only work if you come down to 12 psi. Above that, they are just a pain in the arse. So, and they just dig. So come down to about 12 or 10. I would say my secret formula for KO2s on a Raptor, 12 in the front, 10 in the back. It'll never pop out, it'll be fine. If you run those pressures, the truck will absolutely behave itself and go anywhere. And you still have enough sidewall to go over most things. I was doing about 140 kilometers per hour on those pressures, and the ride was great. They are good tires if Ford makes them specifically for the Raptor, but still not my favorites. I'd like to see other choices. And they're not cheap either. I mean, you're looking at about 1,000 dirhams a corner. Bit pricey, eh? One more note about wheels. This is the second option of wheels from Ford. There are actually a couple of different versions, but this one is beadlock capable, so this ring can actually be converted into a full legit road legal beadlock wheel. And what that basically means is that once it's a beadlock wheel, it isn't right now, it's just a normal wheel, it clamps onto the tire very hard, so you can run incredibly low pressures and the tire will never come off the rim, as low as 4 or 5 psi. Now I don't recommend doing that because all you're really going to be doing is damaging the rim. The tire will be fine because it's a tire, but the rim will be pretty beat up, so I wouldn't do that unless you're some heavy duty rock crawling, and for our conditions we don't need it. But it's nice that Ford offers it like this from the factory. As far as I know, Jeep is the only other company to do that, but Ford is one of the first to do it in a factory form, if not the first, correct me if I'm wrong. So what makes the Raptor so effective? Put simply, it's the fact that it's the only truck you can buy today, apart from the Colorado ZR2, which is not available here, with a wide body long travel suspension. So the wide body helps because these longer lower control arms and the longer axles mean that the car is more stable at high speed. A narrower car can flip over, but this one is actually really stable, and that means it's easy to control. Now the long travel part means that it goes over holes and the shock is long enough to go into the hole and keep the truck from falling into the hole and control the suspension. A couple more buzzwords here. It says 9-stage internal bypass. Internal bypass just means that it's like a bump stop inside the shock. What's a bump stop, you're asking? It stops the truck. It's a bump. It's normally you'd have a little piece of rubber here that acts as a shock absorber, and that hits the axle as it goes up rather than the axle smashing into the body. But a bump stop here is internal to this, so it actually controls it much more carefully, much more elegantly. This one is 3 inches. And again, what does that mean? A 3-inch shock has just more oil inside it and obviously doesn't overheat as fast. It has more capacity, and more capacity is a good thing. Think of it like a bigger engine for your shock. The old ones with 2.5 inch were very good. These ones are flawless. One of the things that always bugged me about the Raptor is why doesn't it ride better? The one we got in the Middle East was actually a little bit different to the US. It had harder, much harder springs, and that was because they talked to off-road drivers, and off-road drivers wanted to be able to take big bumps. So they made the springs rock hard. And as a result, the ride on road, well, people didn't mind it. I thought we could do better. But the new Raptor is much, much nicer. The ride is almost plush off-road and on. The back can get a little bit bouncy at speeds, but you know, I can live with that. I mean, it's unladen, so yeah. But for a factory truck that can do what this does, the ride's pretty darn good. And here's why I think it scores over the aftermarket, because by the way, Fox already offers an upgrade shock here. You don't have to fiddle with it. Can you imagine coming out of the desert and having to fiddle 6 to 7 clickers trying to get the suspension just right? You're not a suspension engineer. I'm not a suspension engineer. Why should we have to do those things? So in a similar way, Fox has got the balance just right out of the box. So I really think just buy the Raptor and leave it alone. As I said before, don't modify it. So yeah, top-notch suspension, that is the absolute jewel of this truck. It's why you would buy it, because nothing drives like a Raptor. The way it feels, almost sporty, as we see on the road, it's actually a really good road vehicle as well now. So what are we looking at here? A mighty V8? Nope, the Raptor has now actually traded in its former 6.2 litre V8 for a 3.5 litre twin turbo V6. Big upgrade, downgrade? Well, it's actually more powerful. Old V8 made about 411 horsepower, about 400 and a bit 10 foot-pounds of torque. This one makes 450, okay, a bit better, but it also makes a whopping 510 foot-pounds of torque. That's pretty serious, even for a 3,000 pound truck like this. Now, that's about 3,000 RPM, so it's a little bit higher than the old torque in the rev range than the old V8. But is it as characterful as the old Raptor engine? In a word, no. The old Raptor had one of the great stock exhaust notes. This one just sounds like a wet fart. It does not sound great at any speed. And that's the problem, because it's often in all sorts of weird places. It's hooked up to a 10-speed auto, and the 10-speed auto is a little bit of a weakness. I prefer the old 6-speed. This one kind of shift quality is all over the place. Sometimes it's really good, a lot of the times it's really bad, it shifts really hard, and it's constantly changing gear, which I don't have a problem with because it's 10-speed. But you have a great gearbox. It's called the ZF 8-speed. Why didn't you just go and buy that instead? So the 10-speed is a little bit of a hassle. And this is also a bit of a peaky engine. You have to know the power band. It's about 3,000 to 6,000. It makes good torque at about 2, but really the big power comes in at 3. So it's not like the old V8 Raptor, which was very predictable in its power responses. But overall, this is a better engine. And for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's a lot freaking faster. The old Raptor sounded great, didn't actually go that fast. But the new one goes like the clappers, 0 to 105 seconds, and I well believe it. This is where the weight loss of the Raptor really helps, because it feels pretty rapid. Secondly, fuel economy. The old Raptor was one of the thirstiest bloody cars we ever driven at MME. I think I went through about 3 tanks in a weekend. You'd struggle to do 9 litres per 100. But this one will, 9 miles per gallon, which is about God knows how many litres per 100. And this one does about 16 litres per 100, which is not better. I would say about 18 miles per gallon. So it's a lot better. The thing is, it's still a bit thirsty, but it's a considerable improvement over the old V8. So in that way, it's a lot easier to run with this car. I mean, this engine is really the big problem and the big plus with this car, because if you're expecting it to be like the old Raptor, you're going to spend a lot of time being confused. I know, I was confused for about 2 or 3 days, but once I got over the lack of noise, I like it. It turns this truck from being a good old boy into a Nissan GTR, if you get my sort of analogy there. It's very high tech. And once you get over there and think this is actually like a smartphone, it's very cool. I don't have a problem with it anymore. I mean, this is the future. I know that Ford's kind of doing this for marketing purposes, but the truck works off-road. I've driven it hard. At high speed, it delivers the business. Do I wish it had a better exhaust note? Yes, I do. But we can't have everything. And overall, this truck is a GTR. It's forward-looking, and I like that. So well done, Ford. You've taken the best of a bad situation and turned it into a good one, because V8s are never coming back. Nobody's going to develop a 6.5 litre V8 for this car. So get over it. Although there is a rumor of a twin turbo V8 coming into this, but that depends if you buy this truck. Personally, I don't have a need for more power. So, yeah, transmission, not great. Engine, pretty good. Exhaust note, terrible. Old V8, kind of missed, but let's all move on. Let's just move on. So how's the interior of the Raptor? Well, let's take a quick look at it. This is a super cab, as I mentioned before, so it has these sort of extended cab half doors. They call them clamshell doors. They actually swing much wider for this year, so they're actually much easier to get into if you have the space, thanks to this clever hinge here. The seats themselves are just okay. I mean, they're really for short distances. I wouldn't want to go to Abu Dhabi in the back of this car. That would be the Super Crew. It's comfortable and it's really nicely trimmed with the orange accents, but not a whole lot of space. And it's very upright. You can't fix the angle. There's no armrest. It can take 3 people, but there have to be 3 people you really don't like. Well, I can just about fit in here. Toys. There aren't any. You've got a charging port here, 2 USB charging ports, and a 400 watt inverter, which is kind of handy actually. Rear AC vents, can't complain, and a cigarette, not a cigarette, a cigarette charger thing. Door pockets back here and perforated leather. I actually think Ford did a really good job with this interior. There's so many nice little touches, and a lot of which the F-150 has really upped the game here. I love this cutout here. There's a good place to rest your arm. Feels very Range Rover-ish with the controls up there on the door. You get, of course, the contrast stitching down here, and plenty of place to keep bottles and other oddments. The seats are a fantastic pair. They're not Recaro or anything fancy, they're Ford's own design, but they're so comfortable. I'm very picky, but these seats are very supportive. Good quality, good materials. The orange leather stitching accents and stitching are nice. You've got little bits of Alcantara down here. Perforated leather, which means that you get AC seats and heated seats. So handy. Passenger side is unpowered. The driver's side is powered plus memory. This car also has a sunroof, which is handy. These are the famous Raptor switches. So basically, if you want to fit lights and things like that, you can just fit them in the engine bay, plug them into a little box there, and then tap one of these switches to use them. They're so cool. They make a lovely noise. And of course, now they don't do anything. They're not hooked up to anything. But you have a lot of options. 6 switches is a lot of options, my friend. Let's look at the driver's side and see what the driver sees. And this is a great driving position. You have plenty of view. The hood slopes down nicely, so you can see over it when you go in the desert. Steering wheel, I just want to point to this for a second. It has like 16 buttons just down here. A little bit busy, but pretty intuitive. I wish the buttons had more accents so you could figure out what they were, because if you're touching them, you don't know the difference between these two. Even though they're both cruise control, you don't actually know what the difference is. So maybe what you want is some sort of bumps or ridges. Well, it's a very nice steering. It's very thick. It's good to hold. And I love these cutouts for your fingers. Really nice to hold. What else have we got here? New instrument cluster. Really good. A little bit 80s, but this truck is a little bit 80s. Fully adjustable power pedals. Mind the dirt. It's been off-road. Foot brake down there. All the mod cons. These two lights, I don't know what they do, but they turn on like a spotlight on either side. Very strange. The cubby down here can pretty much accommodate at least 1 to 3 dead bodies. It's massive. I don't know what's happening down here. Oh, I'm just actually moving the seat. The shifter is one of the manliest shifters you've ever seen in your life. Huge. Women will be impressed. Or not. It's down to the 10-speed auto, so if you was R&D manual, but there's no manual mode, or is there? Of course, you've spotted the plus and minus here, which allows you to change gears manually. And if you don't like that, well, paddle shifters, my friend. Sync 3 out here, very good system. The whole thing is actually really intuitive, really easy to use. I love that there are plenty of hard buttons for the air conditioning, for the media system. There's a hard button. Let me just get into the seat, make life easier. Bear with me. Ah, that's much better. Much better. Okay, sync system here. I'm just going to fire it up. You've got hill descent, traction control, hazards, auto start stop, which doesn't work that often in this heat. This is the all-round 360 view camera. Here you've got climate control, air conditioned seats, media. It's a nice system. It has CarPlay. This actually feels very Uconnect, doesn't it, Ford? It's got the same sort of shortcuts on the bottom, but it's good, it's clean, it's easy, it's nice animated. It's like a Windows phone. You can turn off CarPlay, which is what I've done. You've got 2 USBs down here. Can you see them? Can you see them? Now you can see them down there. And space to keep your bottles of things, and a very large mobile phone. What have we got down here? What have we got down here, Imthishan? Hold on, there we go. There is the 4-wheel drive selector, so 2 high, 4 automatic. Very handy actually, because it kind of does everything you want without being full 4-wheel drive. It only sends power to the front as and when it needs it. You've got 4 high and 4 low, and this is diff lock if you press it. Trailer backup, so if you have a trailer, this allows you to handle, I don't know what really about trailers. If you're wondering how to use the Baja mode, well, that's all here. So the modes accessed through buttons on the steering wheel. So if you click, you get to go through normal, sport, which sort of makes it like more sporty for the road. makes the throttle more sensitive, holds onto gears, etc. And then you have bad weather, which is sort of full automatic, and it's for mud, I would say more rain. And then you have, once it finishes farting about, mud and sand, super handy. And then you have Baja, in this case desert mode. And finally you have rock crawl, which basically makes it really, really slow, tactical, turns on the rear diff locker and all of that. It's trying to do all of this by pressing the buttons. You also have different modes for the steering, so if you press normal, actually my favorite mode, it's a good weighting. Sport, kind of heavy, okay, not bad. Comfort, terrible, gooey and awful. I don't recommend it. So if you are driving in the desert, I would recommend you keep it on comfort, set it to 4 high, switch it to sport. You know, I've tried sand mode, it's okay, but keep it in sport, turn the traction control off, and it's all the off-road you ever needed to be. So I think enough talking. Let's get this bad boy on the road and see how it behaves, or on the desert and see how it doesn't. So we spent a lot of time talking about the Raptor and what it's capable of doing, and I said I wouldn't drive it around and do any woonage, but I will drive it around a little bit and see what it's like. We're here in Russell Khaimah, I guess. It's hard to say, the border is so strange. Put this thing on the go. So really nice shift out here. You can use the paddles, don't have to. The 10-speed doesn't really always listen. I'm just going to do some off-roading here and explore these back trails, just to give you an idea of what the ride is like. And keeping in mind, this is a pretty bumpy track, and any other car is really bumpy. Not even going into 4-wheel drive. Actually, I might just put to 4-wheel automatic. So that basically is a torque on demand system and sends power to the front as and when. Bumpy road, but the Raptor just eats it all up. Let's see how fast I get. Ooh, it's fun. Ooh, narrow, narrow. What a machine. And I'm out of road already. Oh well, no problem. Just turn it around, avoid the giant rocks, and give it the beans. Oh, it's such a good fun truck. I mean, the great thing about the Raptor is that you just can go anywhere and do anything, and you don't really feel like you're pushing the truck. Ride's very good, it's very stable, very controlled. It was going to peel off here. One of the party tricks of the Raptor is that you can sort of be doing 120 on the road. Not that I recommend this, I big don't recommend it. Then you can peel off into the sand at 120 and just keep going. No big deal. So now I'm going to try mud and sand mode. Ooh, silty. Bit of fesh. See how it's like. Some dips, some corrugations. See how the truck behaves. You got a little bit of a dip here, but no problem. Best factory off-road ever, because you don't have to think about it. You just let the car do the work. It's locked the diff automatically. Traction control has been loosened up, and I'm just exploring. You can do all this in modified Jeeps. You can do this in a stock Jeep, but it won't be as comfortable. I know, I've owned one. And you know, modified Jeep, it's a ball ache. Sorry ladies, it's whatever the equivalent of that, a ball ache is for ladies. It is a huge pain to have to set up suspension or spend a lot of money. Now, this is a very expensive truck. How expensive? Swallow hard, people. It starts at 220, which isn't cheap, but what the old truck was. Goes up to about 325 for this one. You're all singing, all dancing version. I don't know if it quite justifies that kind of speed, and I know it's a lot cheaper in the US, but man, it's a truck that does everything. It can be your daily driver, it can be your off-road missile, it can be a family vehicle, and it does it all with a warranty, and you don't have to change a thing. So on that basis, I think, yeah, it's definitely worthy of your 300,000 dirhams. I mean, if you have 300,000 dirhams, get this one. I can talk to you and clamber up and down these little ruts. Oh, coming down. Why am I slowing down? I'm a Raptor. Oh, we've got some rocks here. Oh, big deal. No problem. Not even slowing down. Just soaking it up. Oh, there's a dip here. Whatever will we do? You didn't even feel it, but there was a dip. Oh, I love this thing. I wish I could show you in the desert what it's like, but it's hard to explain 140 kilometers per hour off-road. So take my word for it as being very, very good. This is kind of more rock crawling. I also happen to be in somebody's farm, so I'm just going to turn it around, get back on the road. But overall, off-road wise, have no doubts. The Raptor is the real deal. Real deal. The demerits. I would like more ground clearance. The stereo is just okay. It takes a while to sort of get used to stereo. The 10 speed, 10 gears is a lot of gears, and I don't think it really wants 10 gears either. It's too many gears. What else is a demerit? Too comfortable, that's the thing. Too comfortable. You almost feel like you're going to fall asleep sometimes. What other demerits do you have? Not many. That's the thing about the Raptor. There are not too many things I could complain about. The old one, I could complain, eh? Oh, you know what? I'm going to try this in rock mode now and see how it does. So, does it rock crawl? Shift into neutral. You can hear the gearbox going. Let it walk and see how it does. It's just doing a fantastic. It actually turns on the camera here. It's cool, so you can see over obstacles. Very nice truck. And again, with a warranty. With a warranty. Okay, this is boring. I hate rock crawling. It's traditional off-roading and it's really dull. Mud and sand. Oh, no, I gotta go back into neutral. 4x shift. It goes into high. And away. The temptation to jump this thing is very strong. I'm not going to. Big rock. Every day is your off-road rally stage. And okay, even the KO2s work here because they can soak up the punishment. See, I can drive this with one hand. I don't recommend it. Keep two hands on the wheel, but it doesn't require a lot from the driver. The computers are doing, making it fly, right? This is like a GTR. A GTR also is very simple and it feels a bit digital, but it sorts out the business, you know. It's able to go around the corners. The steering doesn't have a lot of feedback, but it has good weight, so it has that really very crisp weighting, so it's quite nice to use. I have driven a lot worse trucks like my own Ram. Terrible steering. In the sand there is one problem, and that occasionally it can go into the wrong gear, and that can be a bit of stuff because the V8 has the power to pull you out of problems and the V6 doesn't always. So it takes a little experimentation. I would say keep it within the first 3 or 4 gears in sport, in high. Forget all this mud, sand, mode nonsense. Just keep it simple. That was my quarry crawl. I think I'm going to go back to two-wheel drive. And to finish this review, which I'm going to end now. Oh, too many things happening. Normal. That's the problem with this Raptor. There's a lot of computers, a lot of gadgets, a lot of gizmos, and after a while you start to think, do I need all this stuff? The old one had Baja mode, it had sort of off-road mode, but this had one button. This has 6 modes. It's a little complicated, and for people who don't know what they're doing, yeah, it makes it simpler, but you can still do it better on your own if you know what you're doing and if you know how to use the modes appropriately. But I have no issue with it. If this is the future, I'm happy with it, because we've had, 50, 60 years of traditional off-roaders that have clunk low-range boxes, hold down for traction control. This car is not autonomous. That's the point I'm trying to make. You still have to do the work, but if you have the ability to access its extremely broad envelope, it's very capable. And if you don't, it looks after you, and that's a good compromise, I think. Whereas with an old Jeep, if you're stuck in the sand, you're stuck in the sand. You need a shovel and a rope. But this car has options, and it won't let you get stuck in the first place. So A+ off-road, the best factory off-roader money can buy. I'm just going to conclude this with a quick drive on road to see how the Raptor behaves, and see this really is a must-buy, because as it stands right now, it's a must-buy. It is the best truck on sale today. So I'm going to conclude the drive with a little bit of on-road just to show you the big difference in the Raptor. I apologize in advance. I'm actually going to go there fast because the wind noise can muffle the camera and you won't like not being able to hear me. So what tips this over the old Raptor was absolute shit to drive on road. It was a terrible car on road. It was lumpy, clumpy, the tires were horrible, noisy, the steering was awful, the fuel consumption was awful. But off-road, it was a mega monster. It could do anything, and you could jump and fly and all that. But on road, it was like a headache you had to get over to get off-road. My take this one is, they fixed the on-road bit. It's really crisp and easy to drive on road. Apart from the transmission, apart from the drivetrain, I guess, the drivetrain is the real headache. The drivetrain is not superb. But you get used to it. It's more powerful. It just takes a bit more learning. But it's such a nice car to drive off-road. The steering has really made a huge improvement. The gearbox stays out of your way. The body control is so good. The balance is so nice that I come through a corner and it doesn't feel like a truck. It feels like a crossover. It feels very easy to point through a corner. This is where the lack of weight really helps in the nose, because the old V8, you feel like you were steering a super tanker and you were steering from very far at the back. Whereas this car, you're part of the process. The steering is very nice, the balance is very nice. You turn in, you hoik it, and you put some power, and the back comes down nicely. You can keep it in sport actually, but the problem with sport mode, which solves the drivetrain because then it holds onto gears and it's much more aggressive, it's too aggressive. Now you're like, just shut up, leave me alone. No, it's like hold fourth gear in 100 miles per hour. I don't want it to do that. I want to just drive around with a little bit more feel. And sport mode is too much. They say it's for spirited driving. I actually use it off-road. See, you're going to the corner, old Raptor would just fall over itself at about 100, but no problem at all. Zero issue. And the ride is superlative. The KO2s have helped, or rather they're not getting in the way, but the suspension, boy oh boy, suspension, top work Ford. Whatever they've done, whatever the 9 zones of bypass, this time you feel it. Whereas in the old Raptor, you were like, yeah, but I can do this just as good from the aftermarket. This one is a lot harder to do. It feels factory, it feels like, so it'll improve on. I don't know if you can feel this right now, but the back is going bump, 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 bump. That's because there's no load in it. That's the one problem. The back can get a little bouncy. But it is leaf springs. But overall, the elevation in on-road ability, the refinement, the sealing, all these things make the Raptor a much more accessible choice. And here's the thing. If you're buying a Land Cruiser for $218,000, the Raptor starts at $220,000. If you're buying a V8 Land Cruiser, it's $300,000. The Raptor is $320,000. It kind of, at all those points you're thinking, why am I buying a Land Cruiser? Why am I buying a petrol? Why am I modifying a Jeep and putting $100,000 in modification? I'll buy this for $220,000 or $300,000 if you're cashed up. And you have a good car that you don't have to do a thing to. So it has me thinking. And I've built 3 modified cars and I've spent hundreds of thousands of dirhams. And if I was doing it again, do you know what, man? Do you know what, woman? I would just go and get this. And I can't think of a more ringing endorsement than that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following us. Make sure if you like these videos to hit like, comment, subscribe, follow us, and give us suggestions for feedback and more interesting videos to do. That's it from me and Imthishan. Thank you for watching this very, very long video. Gold star for you, sir, for getting to the end of this video. Until the next time, see you soon.